Alright, so the goal of today's lesson is to create like a shooting game where you can create, well, I mean, you're controlling a tank and you're just trying to survive as long as you can against the onslaught of enemies. So let's get started. The first thing I want to do is I want to create our, we're going to need to get the correct colors. All good. And I'm just gonna create the start of our tank, the base. Alright, so this is the base of our tank. It's actually way too big right now. It's gonna zoom in even more. Alright, so I think this is a pretty good size. And then I want to create another sprite. And this one is going to be the head of the tank, aka the barrel. And in order for me to accurately judge the sizes and positions and everything, I need to put them both at the center of the screen. Instead of just duplicating this, I can just drag this into another sprite and it will appear in there. Alright, so now when I click the flag, it will look something like that. And now I can accurately judge how much I need to move it around or how much I need to change the size and everything. So I'm just going to be making the head slightly lighter, and I'm going to be able to position it, our head, right about here should be good. And then let's just create our the barrel, and this should be approximately good enough. Alright, now we just got created like so. I don't like the color, so let's just make it a lot darker. And actually, we're gonna need some color. We're actually gonna need some color too. Right, like so. Alright. I'm just going to keep adjusting the colors until I find what I want. Yeah, this is actually a pretty good color right here. Now let's just go into full screen. This is what our tank will look like. This is what we're going to be controlling and what we'll be using to fight the enemies. And so what I want this thing to do is I want it to forever point towards our mouse pointer. So forever point towards mouse pointer, and I also want it to forever go to. I want it to stay on top of our sprite. So basically the barrel is now basically moving along with the tank. So if I move the tank over, sorry, if I move the tank somewhere else, it would. It's hard to it's hard to do it right now, but alright, let's just put the movement in and you'll see what I mean. Alright, so forever if boom, and we just gotta put in 4 sensings in here. So we got space, 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 and inside these keys, instead of space, you gotta do down arrow, up arrow, right arrow, and left arrow. And now we go to motions, and we put in the X and Y's, depending on whether it's right or left, or up and down. And right here, all done. And once you change these, as you can see, our sprite 2 is now moving along with our tank. But the reason it's kind of lagging behind a little bit is because, first of all, the tank is moving a little too fast. So let's just change this to -2. Alright, so now that's a lot better. I'm already starting to like this. I mean, another thing we could do is just make them separate. We can just make one for each, and it would be a lot better. But this does take up a lot more room, but that's okay. I doubt we'll take up the maximum space anyway. But yeah, this is our current tank positioning. Our current tank movement style. Though I don't really like this tank movement style because it's just unrealistic the way it's moving right now. It's like the base isn't rotating at all. So instead of doing what we usually do, I'm going to be changing it up a little. I'm going to be changing kind of the style it is moving in. So let's just get rid of all of these right now. What I'm going to be doing is pressing the right and left arrow keys will rotate the tank, and pressing the up and down arrow keys will actually make it move. This is similar to how an actual tank would move, so this is just adding to the realism of this game. So up arrow 2, -2, and then for the right arrow and left arrow, turning right, we'll rotate it, let's say 5, and then 5. And as you can see, our new tank is moving in a much more, say, tank-like movement style. Alright, I like it. It's gonna change to 4 because it's rotating a little too fast. Alright, I like this. It's all good. And I'm just gonna go ahead and add a few more details to our tank, such as the tracks on the sides. Nothing too big, just a few minor changes. Copy. Let's paste another one. Alright, so now our tank now looks slightly better, and it's going to add a little bit to this as well. Alright, so now our tank looks even better. So now that we have our main character and its interesting movement speed, we now have something that looks just like a tank. Now, I'm just going to move this a bit this way, just so our barrel is more toward the front. And I'm just going to change this name to Tank Player Base. And it's going to be Tank Player Barrel. Alright, we got Tank Player Barrel and we got Tank Player Base. So now what we want to do is we want it to be able to shoot stuff, and for that to happen, we're gonna need to create another sprite, and this one is gonna be like the bullet. And one more thing, I want a quick thing. I just want to get rid of this and put another thing in here, point in direction 90. Alright, and I also want this to point in direction 90. The reason I'm doing this is to get an extremely accurate judgment of where where this thing will be if it stays on top of the tank. Alright, so now let's create our bullet. The bullet will just be a yellow rectangle. It's gonna make it a little brighter. And oh yeah, it's already looking good. And what I needed to do is, again, just like so. I just need to stop this and do that. And as for this, I just need to I need to set this to 0, first, of course. Alright. And now we can accurately create our bullet. Put in the right position. Alright, now this is an extremely accurate position, I think. And just like everything else, I want it, just like the other scripts, it will be bound to the base of our tank forever. Go to tank/player base. So it'll move along with our player now. And I also want it to forever point towards mouse pointer. And that we need to make these separate, of course. Making them separate will result in a faster kind of better synchronization. And so look, now we have successfully created our tank. What I want it to do is I want our tank, when it starts, to point in direction 90. I also want this to point in direction 90 as well. So it starts like this. And I also don't want to be able to see our bullet the second it starts. So I'm just going to hide this. Hide. Alright, boom. So now we have our tank, but now we have a bullet sprite. Let's name this bullet, of course. And whenever mouse down, basically whenever the player clicks, we want it to fire a bullet in the direction of our mouse. So let's just say forever if sensing mouse down, forever if sensing mouse down, you want it to create a clone of ourselves. Where is it? Yep. Create a clone of myself, and we want the delay between his shots to be 1 second. And whenever I start as a clone, what I want to happen is that let's see, when I start as a clone, he will show, and just to make sure that this is accurate, he is going to go to the player base and he is going to point towards the mouse pointer, and then what he will do, well, we should put this first actually. He's going to show himself, and then we are going to move 10 steps, well, 40 actually if we want our thing, 50 if you want our guy to move fast. And then he is going to keep moving forward until, and we can't complete these statements because I still haven't created a sprite. Nothing to do, you don't have to do anything in the sprite. Just create a sprite first right now that says enemy. Nothing, don't do anything in it, just create the sprite first so you can actually do the code. Repeat until sensing, touching, put 2 of these down, and then operators. Repeat until touching either the edge or until it's touching the enemy. And then we want to put an if statement, and what it's gonna happen is if it's touching the enemy, then it's gonna broadcast a message saying, let's see. No, we actually don't need to broadcast a message. We can just say wait 0.1 seconds, because there are 2 ways to go about this. I can make it so that the bullet senses when it touches the enemy, or the enemy senses when it's hit by the bullet. I actually want to do it when the enemy is hit by the bullet, because that way it's kind of, it just clears up the bullet sprite a lot more, and it's like a lot more simple. So it's gonna wait 0.1 seconds, and then it's gonna delete itself. So delete this clone. So now let's see what happens. Whenever we click, it fires a bullet in the direction that our mouse is. So now we have our basic shooting script right here. And the reason this is right here is to make sure the enemy has enough time to sense that it's been hit by the bullet. Because if it disappears the second that it touches the enemy might be like a millisecond slower. Then it gets deleted, and it won't get sensed by it won't sense getting hit by the bullet at all. So now let's create the enemy, and the enemy, let's just make it some kind of like, we can make what should we make? Let's choose something from the backdrop. Let's choose something from the library, and let's just find something. We can use, yeah, I guess we can use bats. Or yeah, let's use bats right here. Oh man, that's big. I'm just gonna get rid of this one and name this costume. And then it's gonna be making this guy a lot smaller, of course. Alright, so our enemy, giant bats. And actually, instead of just making it so that that bat just looks like this, let's animate it a little. So not paint. Let's actually put in another one from the library, and let's search in bat again. BAT bat, and let's do this one. So now, as you can see, I'm just gonna make this guy small as well. Alright, so now, as you can see, our bat, if we switch between these two costumes, it kind of looks like he's flapping his wings. And let's just do costume 2. And so let's just make it so that our bat is forever transitioning between these two costumes, just to make it kind of look a lot more animated. So forever, it's going to be this next costume, and then wait every 0.1 seconds, let's say. Every 0.1 seconds, and let's just activate this. Alright, now look, our bats look like he's flapping his wings. Let's make it 1.2 actually. And yeah, that's a lot better. And now, whenever the flag is clicked, let's make it so our bats actually duplicate themselves. The way to do this, the best is, I'm just going to make it so that the bats only start from the top of the screen. And in order to add to the realism of this, I'm just going to be making it so like the top of the screen is a forest and the bottom is, I don't know, just like a road or something. And we can draw that later. So when the flag is clicked, forever, we'll go to, let's just drag him to the top. And Y, that is 160 about. So go to Y 160. And then as for the X, I'm just going to move into here to see the extent of the X. We got minus 200. And of course, you've got 200. So between pick random, you got between negative 200 or, negative 200, or you've got 200. So let's just put this in, and look, as we can see, every time this is activated, he moves to a random position at the top of the screen. And this is exactly what we want, so it's going to move up there. And of course, I don't want our guy to be able to see him before he even starts moving, so we're going to hide him first. And he's going to create a clone of himself, and then he's going to wait. So every few seconds, another bat will spawn. And just so you guys remember now, the bullet has a shooting rate of 1 second per shot. So the bat should not have a spawning rate of faster than 1 second per hit. Should not spawn more than once per second, because if it does, then the amount of bullets you can shoot per second is like outstripped by the amount of bats you have. So let's just say you spawn 2 bats per second, but you can only shoot 1 bullet per second. It's impossible to win. So you're gonna make it so our bat spawns in more at a rate of more than less than 1 per second. So let's make it 2. That way you have a margin to be able to, an acceptable margin to be able to miss 50% of your shots, and then it's going to continue and create a clone of myself. And when I start as a clone, what I want him to do is I want him to we need multiple of these actually. One for this piece of code right here. When I start as the clone will also be doing this flapping motion, of course. And when I start as a clone, I want him to let's see, forever. The first thing we need to do is we need to set his rotation style to don't rotate, because I want to make it so that he is forever pointing at the tank, and then moving forward. But if we do that, the bat will always be like turning around 360 and doing all this crazy or whatnot. So I'm just gonna talk about this real quick. All around is usually the default for all sprites. Left right is saying you can only be facing right or left, and don't rotate is just no rotation. Your character will look like he's not rotated, but he actually is. So don't rotate. I'm just gonna set rotation style don't rotate actually, and then we're gonna set it to forever point toward mouse point. Not mouse pointer. Point toward the tank / player base. And let's create another one of these. when you start as a clone, repeat until sensing. Either you are um, either you're touching the bullet or you're touching the tank. So let's just say touching mouse pointer. Whoops, my bad. Set it to touching tank slash player base or touching bullet, and he's going to be moving 10 steps. And I'm just going to test this. Oh, I forgot to make it so he shows, because you actually can't see him show. Alright, so as you can see, this is basically what's happening. They aren't destroying themselves after they die, so that's a little annoying. But anyway, a little 5, and then let's create our other pieces of code. So if sensing touching tank slash player base, always gotta stop this. If touching tank slash player base, what we want to happen is we're going to be giving our tank actually a set amount of health. Actually, that would be pretty cool. Alright, so I'm just going to create a variable real quick. We're going to be making a variable called health, and it's going to be right up here, and your health will be 100. Let's just say your health will be 100 at the very beginning of everything. And if you're touching tank slash player base, you will subtract their health by, let's say, -20. So variables, change health by -20. Or we can make this interesting and make it so that the bat does a random amount of damage. So let's say -15 to -30. So it actually picks a random amount of damage to do to you. And then it will delete this clone. What is it? Delete. Where is the delete? Alright, we got delete this clone. And then let's create another one. Let's create a kills, and now we've got another, we can delete, let's delete this one, and then we can set kills to 0, because we start with 0 kills. And if you stopped, not because you stopped the tank player base, this can only mean you stopped because you touched the bullet. So let's just set kills to 1. Not set, so my bad. Change skills to 1. Change kills by 1. And then you delete yourself. Alright, so now you've got this, and let's look at this. Let's look at that. As you can see, our health went down when that bat hit us. I'll show you guys again. Boom, I lost a random amount of health, and I lost another amount of health. And as I kill these bats, my health is actually my kills are increasing by 1 every time I get a kill. And this is actually way too easy right now. I mean, the bats are super slow, and our bullets are super fast, and it's too easy. Let's adjust the difficulty setting. So in case you guys don't know, there is actually a built-in variable in the game called timer, and this timer gets bigger as time goes on. And whenever you reset the timer gets set to 0. But as time progresses, as the game progresses, the timer will of course increase. Like after a minute, it'll be 60, and so on. So let's take advantage of this. Let's make it so that the bats spawn at a faster rate. No, not spawn at a faster rate. Let's make it so that they well, let's do both actually. Let's make it so that they spawn at a faster rate and they run a little faster depending on the progression. Okay, so let's make this quick equation. So let's make it so that wait 2 seconds plus timer divided by 2. No, not divided. Let's make it divided by 10. So after 10 seconds, no, it's subtraction actually. Oh man, this is gonna be super intense right now. So let's just put this here. So now our bats will spawn at 2 minus the timer divided by 10. So let's just say the timer was at, we were 100 seconds into the game, so this thing would be 10. So it will actually be negative. So we can't actually have that. So let's just make this like, no, what, 100 or something. So I mean, let's just try it. So now our bats should slowly, as time progresses, they will spawn at a slightly faster rate. And let's just test this. Let's wait 100 seconds or so. I'm already starting to notice they are actually starting to spawn very slightly faster, barely noticeable, but as you can see, let's just keep going and eventually it will become noticeable. Let's keep going. Got 20 kills, 21. Keep going. And let's just test this by trying to shoot as fast as we can. And as you can see, about 100 seconds have progressed, because now these bats are actually spawning at a rate slightly faster than I can shoot, which means that our script is actually working. Alright, let's see how long we can last. Alright, so that's proven that this script is working. Let's do something similar with his movement speed. Alright, and moves 5 steps, so let's just put this to 5 plus timer divided by 1,000 divided by 100. So he will also slowly get faster. I mean, let's just make this, what, 75 to make this another thing. And also, we need to make it so our tank dies if our health hits 0. So, forever if sensing, no, not sensing. Forever if 1 is greater than, or I mean, let's just, forever if 0 is greater than health, then let's just do this, then broadcast you lose. And let's just broadcast you lose. And when you broadcast you lose, we can go to backdrops, and let's just create another one, save the first one for other things, and let's change this to black. Alright, and we can change this to, let's make this, you died. I feel hesitant about saying you lose because this is endless, you can't win. So let's just say you died, and you died, and you can say, let's also put these kills like over here, and we can say let's just say something like, I don't know, better luck next time. Let's change it, let's put it up here. Alright, now we've got a somewhat functioning game. And just for the backdrop, of course, like I said, let's just put this up here, some kind of like really dark area, I guess. Let's put brightness to 0. Let's make a dark area up here. Get rid of this. We got a really kind of dark area up here. And let's just make this slightly brighter now. And then we can make this even brighter. And then we can make this even brighter. And finally we can make it pretty bright. Alright, so now it looks like the bats are coming out of the darkness up here. As you can see. Oh, sorry, my thing was connected to my yep. So as you can see, the bats are coming from up there. Alright, now what we need to do is we need to make it so let's just make this part down here like a road or something. Something very simple. And let's just make this some kind of like, you can put a few cracks or something, I don't know. So we can decorate the landscape a little with random stuff like this. And yeah, we've got our map, and so I'm just going to program the backdrop a little bit. So it's going to switch to backdrop 1, and then when I receive, let's say, when I receive you lose, switch to backdrop, switch to backdrop 2, and we're gonna stop all after waiting a few seconds. Stop all after waiting, let's say 0.1 seconds is way more than enough. And so basically what we need to do now is we need to put a show in the beginning of every one of these so that it shows when the game starts, because I'm gonna hide them when the game ends. And hide, and now we're just gonna need them for whenever, let's say, when I receive you lose, hide. What? When I receive you lose, hide, boom, boom, and boom. And now let's test this. Let's wait until our health hits 0. Getting hit a lot. Boom. Got hit again. What more? And you died. Better luck next time. And also the tank and stuff hit itself, so it's not just there. And let's just name this Tank Survival. And now let's test out our game. We can also, I'm just gonna add a few more finishing touches as well, such as whenever we get hit by the enemy, it's gonna have a special effect kind of where the screen turns a little red for a few moments, like so. Let's just make it so that, I don't know, it just says oof or something. At the very bottom, let's make it so that it says oof. And let's just put it at the very bottom. Actually, let's put it near the oh, right up here. Oof. And we can make it so that this is forever shaking, just to make it's a little eye-catching, so the player will kind of like be forced to look at it. And let's just forever glide, and then alright. We got 2 different positions. Let's change this to 0.05, 0.05. And as you can see, it's kind of like shaking now. I mean, let's change it to 0.03. 0.03. Alright, all good. And when I receive, let's actually make it so that we need to make it so that when you get hit, it actually broadcasts something. So of touching broadcast, new message. Let's just name this oof. And when I receive oof, show, set ghost effect to 0. Let's just hide this when you start the game. Set ghost effect to video 0 show. Let's wait for like what, 0.5 seconds. before starting to fade. 0.5, and let's just do a bit of math here. Let's change this to 20. We'd have to change the ghosty effect by 20 times for it to fade. So change ghosty effect by 20 times, and it's just gonna hide, basically. So now whenever we get hit, the top left, it'll just say oof, and then it'll disappear after a short time. Oof, oof. And yeah, that's the game. And let's test the game a little bit more. Let's tweak it a little bit, add a few finishing touches. We should also add like I don't know. We could make it so that we have health regeneration. That would be, yeah. Let's do that. So let's just go, and forever. So let's just make it every 1 second he regenerates 1 health. I think that's a reasonable change health by 1. And let's just test that. Change health by 1 if it is not 100. If it is not equal to 100. If your health is not already 100, it will not increase your health, of course. And let's just test this by getting hit. We got hit, and now we have a health regeneration. Alright, that's another cool touch. Alright, that's pretty cool. And now I'm just gonna add one more thing, like a kind of like an aiming thing. I think that would be pretty cool. So similar to something, I don't know, something you might see in Angry Birds. Let's just create like I don't know, let's create like these oval things. You can kind of see where these, kind of see where the bullets are gonna go. And nope, I don't want that. Let's make it actually a little darker. And let's actually make it a circle instead. And let's copy it, paste it 1,000,000 times, and we can just, whoops, my bad. Let's drag them, something like that. Let's keep dragging them. And let's continue. Let's actually copy a larger group of these. Copy, paste. And let's just, I don't know, let's just copy this, copy, paste, and let's even put it like so. And alright, now let's try it out. Now our thing, we now have a slightly more, we have like an aiming tool. Looks to be mostly accurate. I kind of wanted to fade a little bit over distance. Over distance, let's make it fade a little bit. And we can do that by slowly making it brighter and brighter. Brightness, boom. Brightness, boom. Brightness, boom. Brightness, boom. Brightness, boom. Brightness, boom. Alright, and now we've got sort of like, let's look at this. We've got like an accurate aiming system. Yeah, I like that. Let's also get rid of the bullet deletion after it hits the enemies, just to make it a lot more, I don't know, just make it a bit cooler. Move 50 steps, wait 0.05 seconds, delete, no, it'll be a little too much work to do that. I'm satisfied with how it turned out right now. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.